right, we're back. Go ahead, Steve. Your second question.
I had a couple of questions. One is a more artistic question. Years ago, I interviewed Wayne Cochran, and Wayne Cochran, the CC Riders. And part of the image he was getting was also...
And I know
riding
those
bikes.
guys, by the way.
Okay. And what he said to me in Miami Beach was, when he performed, when he wrote the music, it came from the heart. He didn't like people who had... You can't bleed for love and sorrow unless you really experienced it. And I'm wondering, in terms of the experience with bicycling and that type of genre, how do you experience and how do you relate that to the listener and the viewer?
It's interesting. The experience is the key word there. You know, once you climb on and you get your riding legs beneath you, so to speak, it all just happens. It's like anything, man. You feel the power of movement. Driving in a car is one thing, but when you're exposed to the elements like that on a motorcycle, the feeling of danger is ever present, for sure.
Yeah, because my ex and I, that was when we were in the Philippines station 1985 or 86, we what happened, the school kids, right, Philippines, like anybody, any provinces are, they just run across the other side of the road, so we hit one little boy.
Yeah, that's a tragedy, and it happens all the time. But in terms of how the experience comes along, and I have to say that the motorcycle community has evolved like any community does. It's become more interracial, it's become cross-cultural, it's become highbrow. It's really, and now, but in terms of the feelings and emotions that are related to what Wayne was speaking about, that lifestyle, it attracted an individual or a group of people that lived very edgy. Okay, and so it would bring a lot of sorrow and pain along with a lot of joy. In other words, extreme living. And a lot of my songs speak about this.
It's interesting, when I was living in Florida, I was 14, 15, we only had to be that age to get a motorcycle under 5 horsepower. And the person was showing me, and he had me in the back seat. And I lived in Florida, and they had little hills, and he said, this is how steady it is. He would shake it around. And I'll never go in the back of a motorcycle again.
No, I don't blame you.
However, he told me, and it's true, right, and you can confirm it, that the center of balance, the center of gravity on your larger Harley-type motorcycles is so designed that unless some dramatic force pushes you, the balance, it actually could ride by itself.
Well, I have to say that that's something that not a lot of people really know until they actually get on a bike. And because this is true, it actually saved my life once. However, when you go down on a bike, it's just, that's it. It's
all right,
just,
let's talk about something else. Your film. Why did you divert yourself into filming? And I know you said you're going to have your movie coming soon. I mean,
another one, yes.
The story has been written, and you already have a prospective artist to go along with your film. So what type of film are you planning to put in the industry?
Because, okay, the next film you're speaking of, okay, the next film that I'm working on is, it's called Sonny versus the HOA. And needless to say...
people will watch that. A lot of people does not like HOA.
You bet, and I'm probably one of them. So I don't know who's watching this, but just take warning.
We have
with
a
that.
lot of viewers right now. We're going to shout them.
Oh, I'm sure they know right where we're coming from. I mean, it's a very difficult relationship sometimes between homeowners and HOA associations. Very contentious. And for me, characters are very important. And of course, warriors and saints are my heroes. Not many people can stand in a place to be a hero, and call themselves a hero unless they put it all on the line. And certainly our warriors do and our saints do. They risk their lives to bring their message or to prove their point or to stand strong for us or themselves. And Sonny is the main character, is a Vietnam vet who experienced a lot of unfriendliness when he came home from war. I think you remember that conflict very well, and sort of how the soldiers were treated when they came back. And however,
disgusting, basically disgusting.
Absolutely, but now we've learned from that, and our new heroes and our new military personnel that come back experience a different reception. But so Sonny is a guy who's very edgy, very mean, very bitter, and so he's just a hard drinking guy, and that's what his life is. And he's bitter from the war and lots of pain, and he has post-traumatic stress disorder, which is sort of like the underlying theme of this message in this movie. It's about healing, and but him and his friends are bikers, and of course I put bikers in just about everything I do because they're really colorful people.
And in Vietnam, for example, they seem to use that quite a lot.
And of course, it's right in that generational pocket. You're right there with that was very popular and coming on.
You mentioned about the veterans. Nowadays, a lot of people doesn't respect military anymore. They don't even respect some of the veterans anymore.
You bet.
know. I mean, I don't know why, and a lot of people are burning the flags, and they don't even care. Like the band, I said on my Twitter, I said, I don't mind to play the I Stand the Flag, because it said Facebook, they don't want them to play or at least people can watch the I Stand the Flag. You know that, right, the band?
Yeah, I mean...
They wrote the song, and they had the Facebook paid for, but Facebook doesn't want to play that song.
Sure, it might be a little too political for them,
Actually,
so
not. If you listen to it, in fact, I sent them a tweet. Hey, I don't mind to play that on my show. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
It's
well,
not.
I would still hope that we live in the land of freedom.
That's right.
And freedom of speech, and a freedom of opinion. Sometimes I question that, but we would hope that we could write our songs and express ourselves freely.
Well, I worked in Afghanistan. I was embedded with the military in the southern part of Afghanistan, and I can tell you that they are heroes, even those the wounded warriors. To go out there and to put your life in jeopardy every day, unless you've done so, you don't know what it's like. There are many people who are, the old cliche of the armchair or Monday night quarterbacks and that sort. It's easy to sit at home and make criticism until you're out there.
Oh boy, yeah.
Right? It's the same thing as whether you're working overseas, whether you're riding a motorcycle. The experience that you have from people, as long as you have a mutual respect.
Sure.
Right? It's not the facade that you have.
Right.
What we're talking about there, I understand that what we're talking about here, the film that is about to, put it in the filming industry is about the veterans, as a lot of people since President Trump became a president, not too many people respect the military anymore, especially the veterans.
That's their problem.
I got to say that...
Half, maybe
I don't believe so.
one-third,
I don't believe that that's the case. I believe that there's a
What's your
vocal
opinion
minority.
about that, Mike? Of course, every people has a different opinion.
I think that what has happened to the last two generations of people is that they've become so absorbed in image, the television screen, the notion of fantasy, video games. They've become detached from reality. If you want to come into contact with reality, get on the battlefield.
That's right.
The closest thing to that, and is that which brings you to the closest of your mortality. And so certainly riding a motorcycle, if I can kind of mix that in with our message right now, brings that sense, and you might know a little bit about that, It brings a certain sense of danger to you, and when you get past that danger, it's exhilarating, But I think an answer to your question is that I'm really quite disappointed in what these last two generations have come to with our veterans. Even respect for elder people who have been through life, who understand. There was a time when we respected that. We held on to our grandparents. They had wisdom. We look for that wisdom. No, everybody's too smart now. All they got to do is look at their smartphone, and then they're really smart now, right? I can't even use this thing, but I think that's kind of what has happened with the lack of concern for our veterans. And I work in this community very deeply, and there are so many veterans in the motorcycle community. That's why I'm very acutely aware of how they feel, how they think, and how they interact on a limited or a full basis with our society and stuff. There's definitely a chasm between our youth and those who don't understand what it means to be. And certainly these people are going off to war now.
Right.
And you're sending, kids just out of high school, they're not even fully grown yet, manhood takes a while to come, womanhood takes a while to come, to mature.
Let me ask you this, because when you pitch a screenplay or a song to be published or a movie to be produced, and the people in Hollywood have changed because they reflect a younger generation as well, do you find that to be very frustrating, where they just don't get what you're trying to say?
Yeah, no, listen, that's really a great question. I do find frustration with that, and I think I find an answer to your earlier question. I think this is probably one of the reasons why I've pulled back from music quite a bit. I don't find contemporary music to be of much substance at all. I remember a time when you sat down and you'd listen to somebody, it was a story, it was a message in there, somebody was trying to convey something or teach us something.
But not anymore.
Not so much anymore. And I really think that pop music and sort of, I mean, you can't knock somebody for their art, regardless of what it is. But I'm an artist through and through, and I can look and smell and taste and hear something that's good or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
At least my opinion.
We're going to talk more about who is Mike Anthony Jones, a film director or producer and also a musician. We'll be right back.